Let me stop the music. I'll just start talking here a couple minutes early. But yeah, thanks, Connie. I uh, I I start the Zoom meeting a bit before so I can get everything timed right, and I had my music cranked up, and then I realized like, oh, maybe I need to mute that because some people are in the waiting room in Zoom. But anyway, yeah, we'll be starting here in looks like 1 minute ish. And thanks everyone for showing up. This is awesome. I'm not zooming. I have not seen the invitation yet. Well, it got emailed to you. I send out the emails about an hour before the meeting. Or it's always the same link, right? And also it's in the top of the chat here. If you scroll, you'll find it. It's in the Friday chat. And, got a couple people in the... Let's see, we're almost at time. Let me start adding them. Turn this off. Go to webcam. Why is my webcam not... Oh, the wrong thing. What? What in the world? Logitech, here we go. There we go. Hey, look, I'm here. And, oh, that's why. It's just webcam. There we go. Okay. And let's admit. Are we at time? Yeah, we're at time. Admit all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And, yeah. How's everyone doing today? Happy Friday.
Happy
I
Friday.
believe it's already
Happy Friday.
first week.
Happy weekends.
Yeah, it's the weekend already again. There's Suzanne's.
Oh, someone's in the library.
That's me. I got to get my virtual background working.
Well, it's a good look.
I'm transparent at the moment.
Are you a vampire? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that you got me.
It's a Harry Potter thing, you know. You got your invisibility cloak on. You're in the library. What more do you want?
Oh, right. There we go. There I am. Okay.
There we go. Hello.
Hello.
How's everyone doing today? Normally we would jump right into things, but I want to just take for a minute here to explain the plan. By the way, if you didn't get the email, going forward, we're going to move this call an hour earlier because it's a little complicated, but we're adding a second office hours call for the hero groups. And well, group I should say, because it's one group, but we're gonna have two separate calls. And the thing is, for Isaias, he's an hour ahead of me, so it was just going to be too hard to do 3 hours in a row, and that'd be 2:00 for him before he'd grab lunch. That's just I can't wait that long on myself either. So we're moving this call an hour earlier, so we'll still have the free call. So just show up here next week an hour earlier, everyone here. But the hero plan is the sale's ending today, so if you're interested, it's $5.99 right now. Goes up to like $14.99, so it's even at $14.99, it's a good deal, right?
Yep.
But
a quick question for you on that, if I may. The current users, are they going up as well, or only for new users?
Of course. No, I'm not. Yeah, no, and honestly, Guy, I absolutely not. However, I'm going to say this as a caveat, like, we've never done this. So if it does happen, we'll have to figure it out, right? Like, because that's absolutely not the plan. Is everyone, if you sign up now, that's the whole point of having the sale, right?
No, at the end of the day, I don't know a lot of other hotkey users, so I find it difficult to recommend. But other people, this is great for you guys to get. The help for us is priceless. At a price that it's not a one-to-one kind of price, but also bringing an income for you, so you're not doing it for nothing. I think that you should be rewarded for the effort and the time that you put into it, because people think, oh, it's just chats there for an hour. It takes a lot to organize these things.
Well, yeah, and Guy, as I try to remind everybody, Isaias works for me, so when he's on here, I'm paying for him to be here. I'm not knocking Isaias at all, right? Because and he deserves more money than I pay him, but I'm the one paying for him, and it's my time, right? Yeah. So with doing these groups, it allows us to get some money to where, because otherwise we could just do client work and only do client work and actually make, a decent amount of
And
money.
nobody learns anything else, right?
Exactly.
Right, yeah. But both as Ace and I, we both love AutoHotkey. We love teaching. We also love helping people's lives improve, right? And so the Hero program, it's funny because I've been trying to get people to do tutoring, this and that, and no one comes up. But I'm like, if we can drop that price and have it where it's multiple people here at once, we can make it where it's cheaper. And that was kind of why we created this to allow it. And
but also as a kind of club, I mean, we all bounce off each other in Telegram, so you don't have to answer it if one of the other users goes, "Oh my God, I've just done this. Here you go." This is it's a no-brainer. It's awesome.
I'd also add on to that, guy. It's really important. Is a lot of people. The thing is, when you come to us with what you're doing, we might help push you in the right direction and help you get it working, but you learn that. But boy, when you watch what other people are doing, it's very inspiring, right? You learn a lot of new things that you should be doing, and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah.
I think the expression you're looking for is a rising tide raises all boats, which means the better we all get, the better everybody gets, if that makes sense. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, no doubt. And actually, yesterday we had a call with Tank. We were asking him some. He's helping us with a project for a client, and it was on a really specific topic of taking a form data that we created in JavaScript and shoving it into our database, and also keeping it safe where people just can't hammer it and give us a bunch of spam. But and on that call, we were also talking about some other stuff for, I don't know if have I seen Thomas here yet? No.
No, I haven't seen it.
But he has a project where we're selecting text and detecting text has been selected. And Tank, threw out a couple ideas, which were like, oh,
you can do that.
Yeah, right. So my point is, even we've used AutoHotkey forever, we learn from each other too, right? So it's real. And here's also the thing, a caveat I'll throw out there. It's not always AutoHotkey is the solution that people are offering up, right? Which to me is perfectly fine.
Yep, that is right. And actually, usually talking about that, one of the best ways for us to kind of help is, if you give us your questions. Sometimes we do have some people here in the meeting, and some of them ask questions. But if you're just watching the stream, you can also type your questions, and that usually brings up topics in which we can help out a lot of people, because probably you're doing something that we haven't played with right now. So just go ahead and ask your questions. It doesn't matter what it is. Probably we'll have something interesting to say about it. So,
and we'll cover this a bit more in the Heroes group once we've solved it. But we're going to come up with either a private GitHub type of thing where we can also share our code and that way it's all stored in one spot and we can easily archive it and go looking through it.
Awesome.
Okay, enough about the Hero program. Who's here and who needs some help? What are we working on?
Yeah, perfect.
Well, this is Alex here. I'm wondering whether it's worth doing an AutoHotkey or I should just buy an app. I'm a lawyer. I'm starting my own law firm, and I need billing software. So I spent hours and hours months ago creating a multiple timer, where I can enter a little bit of information, but it doesn't link to anything right now. So AutoHotkey might be a great tool, or it might not be the right tool because I would need a database, with the client's name and information, and keep historical archives of time spent. I need a way to generate bills, so in other words, that the timing portion of the script would automatically once a month, if I press a button, feed it into a bill for the client. On AHK forums, I haven't really seen anything like this, and it might be that AHK is a great tool, but just not for this.
Well, Alex, you could create a tool with AutoHotkey to do everything you're saying, right? And connect us.
Right.
And the tool itself, once you created it, would be free because you've created it, right? However, a lot of as you start adding on the complexities of the stuff you're talking about,
right,
I would say why reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah.
There are other, CRMs out there. Now,
Right.
here's the thing. They have APIs, and we're actually, one of our clients uses Locus,
Locus.
LAWCUS.
It's specifically for lawyers. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Huh.
we can actually link to that. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Great.
so
I love that.
with AutoHotkey, we can create tools where that way you don't have to use their crappy web interface, because
Right.
that's why the client came to us. It's like, this is painful,
Yeah.
So we're writing tools to make it simpler. And he actually, even on Locus, they had automations with what's it called, Zapier, and other stuff
Right.
that you can automate without AutoHotkey, right? But yeah, Azayas, do you agree with that? Like, would you?
Actually, I totally agree with the sentiment that whatever you're asking is not like a really complex kind of thing, except for
Right.
certain details. It's
Yeah.
not really complex. It's just saving information and checking. But the problem is, it's a huge
Right.
amount of things. So
Right.
if
Right.
you go ahead and do it by yourself, you're going to spend more time
Right.
fixing code that is not working or adding stuff than what you're actually going to get out in the end.
Okay.
If you are doing it as a hobby, great. Just go
Yeah,
ahead and do. I think Guy is doing something
Yes.
similar, that he's creating a program for his.
I can earn a lot more money as a photographer than
Right.
I can as a programmer.
Right.
Yes, if I was doing this commercially, I would pay Isaias and Joe to take this project off my hands. However, some people drink, some people smoke. I code.
Exactly.
Right.
But if you,
That's a bumper sticker right there, guy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
but in general, if you're not going to be spending that much time in coding,
Right.
then it is just better to go ahead and start with a tool that is already built for that. I
Right.
actually linked on the chat
Okay,
the
thank you.
webpage
Yeah.
that they have. You check if the pricing is up for you. If not,
Right.
there are other tools similar to that.
Right.
And if there's a point in which that tool is not helpful, then you can go ahead and create an AutoHotkey script for that, which is what we're doing for one of our clients. He uses the interface, but there's some things that don't work as he wants, and then
Right.
we created a small tool for that.
Okay. Great. Thanks, guys.
Well,
I know-
at the same time, I would say it wouldn't, if you compartmentalize some of the stuff you're wanting to get done, you still could achieve some really cool stuff with AutoHotkey without that whole regular scheduling of billing. Like, man, it's a critical thing. You don't want that to get messed up. And
Right.
there's a lot of private information that would be in, like, I'd be really worried about that. But, there's a lot of other stuff you can use AutoHotkey for that could really help you. We have a dentist, we're helping him automate his incoming forms, and processing them in his systems and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff you can do.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Jepto, I saw you want to activate auto CRLF in AutoHotkey Studio. I'm not sure, Zace, do you know what he means by auto CRLF?
Yeah, so CRLF is control, he's having the same issue that's talking about new lines. So the new lines are actually, that they're carriage return line feed.
What's auto CRLF?
Right. So what happens is that it seems to be, and I have the same issue. Whenever you open a file in Studio, it changes the line characters at the end to control line feed.
No, it doesn't.
Well, when you save it, maybe?
No.
Because
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, because
I don't know.
every time I open a file that was opened in Studio, I have to change the line feed every single time. So
it might be on the saving. I know from
Right.
talking to Maestria that he
Right.
was absolute. He doesn't use both. He just uses the one. But maybe when you're saving.
right, but in that case, it seems to be that either he forgot to do the change back to line feed, or
No,
he wanted it like that.
Right, he might have kept it that way because it's the default for Windows,
For
right?
Windows,
which
yeah.
I would say that does make sense.
Yeah. But in that particular case, I do also find it a little bit annoying that I have to change the line feeds. I don't know if there's a way to disable that in AutoHotkey Studio, like to change the default line feed character. But I cannot offer really a solution there. Instead of just every time I open a file, I just switch it in my editor. That's all.
Let me see if Makestruth is around.
Right. Maybe we can ask him.
Often he's on
Yeah. In the meantime, I saw here on the chat, Dimitri saying that he had a question regarding how to let a control respond on a hotkey. I have got a solution, but wonder if there isn't a better way. So maybe you can go with that question. Let's see what it is, or if you can show your answer.
Yeah, okay. Actually, it's for my, I have an inspector tool with in version 2 written. And now I recently added also the ACC library that is now available for version 2. So it becomes quite nice. And I have one function that opens a new window. Yeah, it's hidden now. ACC viewer, and that lets you inspect all the ACC document or ACC elements of a window. And you can also search in it for like system.
That's great.
It filters
That's beautiful.
it out.
Yeah,
Does that
awesome.
work? Does that work for version 1 as well? So you can, because I'm writing in version 1. Will it work for me?
Well,
then you need to search for window list.
No, but hold on. Isn't that? I'm sorry, but this tool, if you compile it, right, you can run it in any machine, and then it will work with any window. So the only thing that you have to do is just have the compiled version. So if you don't have AutoHotkey version 2 installed, just get the compiled version, and it should work just fine, I would assume. Yeah,
because at the moment to get ACC paths, I'm using like 2 or 3 different tools, because sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work with different programs. I've not found one tool that works with everything.
No, you're not going to find it.
Hopefully, I was hoping this one might do it.
No,
You know?
no, you're not going to find it. That's not how it works. But there's a few.
There's me hoping.
Don't have it. No, let me shoot that right now. I'm just going to shoot
actually,
that.
I have a version 1 predecessor of it, but it's not that good, of course. And here you could also, it's called window list.
Okay.
And that also displays it's very similar here.
Right.
Yeah, I just translated it, but it doesn't have as many functions as my latest.
The newer one, right? Now, in this tool, you wanted to kind of like capture the keyboard.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying
you
to
know,
do?
in a lot of programs, if you select something in a list view and you press Ctrl copy, then you get the results. Yeah, now it works because I programmed it in, but I was wondering if I did it correctly, because here's actually the code that makes it happen. My ACC GUI is actually this GUI, and then I say only a hotkey that's only active if that GUI is active. You use Ctrl C.
Right, and then you get the information about it.
Yeah,
and a loop.
Copy the
that is
but
definitely.
Here I also need to check what the focus is.
Right.
And I was wondering, can I also tell it that this hotkey only may be active when I am focused on the control?
Yes, you can, my friend. Only in version 2 of AutoHotkey, there is a new hot if command or directive. I'm going to try to show you a situation in which I use that. Let me double check. Let me just 1 second. But yes, there is a way to do that. And the latest version of AutoHotkey Beta 2, the Beta 8 version of it, fixed an issue that I reported regarding that. So I'm sharing my screen right now. And right now, you can use the hot if directive, and you can use one of your GUIs or a control and use the focused. So hot if that is focused would actually do exactly what you're asking, and right below you create your hotkey. And what you're doing regarding looping through.
Wait. Attachment. That's a GUI object. The GUI object.
That is a list. That is a list.
That's a yes. Okay.
That's actually list view.
Yeah.
And by the way, hold on. No, I wanted to do something. No. By the way, the list view that I create here on the left usually has a few files that I'm going to loop through and attach into an email. So it's a list view, exactly what you're doing. And what I usually do in your case, you can simplify your code to simply start at row 0 and get the next one. And that always gets the next, get the next item in it, which then you can grab the text of the whole, row or whatever you want to do. But basically, you can just loop through it like that, and only the hotkey is only active whether that was actually focused. What I noticed was that if I had a search field, that I had kind of like a drop combo box, which is an edit and a drop down. When you have a control that had many items in it, like a button, a drop down, and a list, the focused variable was not working as intended. So in the latest beta version, that was fixed. So now it works as intended. So in any case, I think what you're looking for is doable. It's just with the hot if command, and just as I displayed. In version 1 of AutoHotkey, you cannot do that. You would have to do probably what you were doing. Just make the hotkey while the window is active, and then check which control is focused. And if it is the one that you want, then go ahead and perform the action. So you would have to go about it in more.
But it's only, does it only work with version 8? I think I'm running version 7.
No, it actually works with version 7 as well. So it should work the same. The only problem that I had was when you had a control that had multiple controls in them, like child windows. But a normal control like an edit field should work fine. I'm not really sure about the list view though. I don't know if I didn't have issues with the list view, no. The list view was the first one that I did. So it should have worked normal.
Quickly test again.
And that's why I actually like version 2 a little bit better, because a thing that in version 1 I had to use several lines for, now is converted to a one-liner. Hot if that thing is focused. That's it. That's what I wanted to do. That's it. So you can take a look at that, read a little bit more of the hot if command and see if that works out for you.
I was trying it again. I'll use it on Notepad, should be. And here I get the error.
Must match an existing hot if expression. Oh, no. Click no there. You're using a command, but that's not what I used. It's a directive. Just go ahead and put the directive and remove the
hash. The hash is missing.
Yeah, the hashtag, just the directive, and remove the parentheses. Right. So this is actually red at the beginning of so try it now.
Okay. It loads.
Now, hold on. This hotkey, how you're creating it, I don't think it's gonna work with the hot if like that. So you would have to create a normal hotkey.
That is always active.
Right, because now it's only active if that thing is focused. You see what I mean?
Yes, and it's not possible to just activate it when the GUI starts existing.
Yeah, you can. So you can use now the other command. So how do I explain this? You see the one that you were using, the hot if with parentheses, which is a command, must be based on something. You had to have a directive first to use that command, because that command checks on the directive. I really suggest you go ahead and read on the documentation how the hot if command and directives work, because they have a little bit of a difference how they work. The way how I was using it is just as a directive, but you want it to just be activated only when the window is created. I don't think that's
Yes.
needed. I don't think that's really necessary at this point.
That's not
You just-
really necessary, but is it possible?
It is possible, yeah. But
But then
Go ahead
I
and
don't
read-
need the hashtag.
yeah, you
I
do.
think.
You would need it both. You would need the hashtag and the other one as well. Again, take a
Okay,
little time
I'll
and
figure
read
it
on the
out.
yeah, exactly. Take a little time on the documentation because you will have to use them both together. In the way that you're describing, yeah. In the way how I use it, not really.
Yeah. Okay, then I had still another issue. I tried to do it in version 1, and it was actually to retrieve the text of a tree view. I don't know if
A tree view
somebody
controller.
has already done it.
You would have to loop over the tree view, almost exactly the same as you do with the list view. You would
But
have
the
to
next
use
external tree view.
from a different program. Oh,
Yes.
now you're asking for trouble. Yeah.
Else I
no.
would have done it.
No. Okay, so in this case, the only way that you can do that is actually sending messages to the tree view. You would have to
that's
go
actually
ahead
what
and
this function should
Right.
do, but
yeah.
I found it on an old forum, but doesn't seem to work. But I was just wondering if somebody had maybe
Actually
already
made it work.
encountered.
Maybe you would have to. If this is on version 1, is this version 1 code, right?
Yes.
I'm not really sure how to do it because now you're dealing with var set capacity. So you're creating buffers and setting. Actually, this insert integer that you have there, maybe you want to use numput in there. Is that what insert integer do? Insert integer, lines 34. Right,
Insert
that function is that it. Oh, dude, no, change that to a numput. I think what they're trying to do is filling out a. Right, this is what you should be using, numput, and because that insert integer was probably before they had numput in.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is create with var set capacity, they're setting up some memory block, and now they're filling out a structure. I don't know if you're used to filling out structures, right?
Yeah, I'm not that used to it,
But
I
basically,
think-
that's what you're trying to. I don't think you changing that automatically would work, but you would have to check on that. But basically, that's what their intention might seem. They're filling out a structure, and then they're passing that structure with the message. And it seemed to be that the way how the DLL was calling it was not correct. So I would play a little bit with that. That's all.
yeah.
Speaking of which, one of the honestly I used AutoHotkey for like 2 to 3 years doing hotkeys and hot strings, and it was amazing. Right, I'm not knocking it at all. And then I was playing with the statistical program I use, SPSS, and in SPSS you create a GUI, and I would get a list of variables, and then I had to select certain ones and move them over, and I realized it was just a list view, right? But AutoHotkey could peek inside that tool and not only get the list of things, but actually tell me which ones were selected, give me a count, how many were selected. And that was when, for me, AutoHotkey, like, I realized it's not just hot strings and hotkeys, right? Like,
Right.
it is so powerful, especially with older Windows programs. It's insane how easy to do a lot of stuff, right? That, like, you just wouldn't believe. It's really helpful.
That's right.
And then Brian asked, if there are ways to easily hotkey if when is active.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite clear what he was wanting.
So he wants to. Well, that's basically what we were talking about. There are some directives and functions that allow you to create a hotkey that is only context sensitive if a window is open. And in version 1, it's really simple. It actually shows up on the documentation. If you use the if when active directive, you just have to specify what the name of the window is. In this case, they were using a class as an example, but you can use any other ways of creating windows. You just have to understand more or less what win title is expecting. So it's a very simple matter of using that directive. And that by that, automatically, the hotkey only works in that particular window. only when that window is active.
And just remember to like they have in the example here, to blank it out after you've done that. Otherwise,
Right here.
everything that follows it is going to be
Right. So what that means is that if you use the so let's say if WinActive Chrome, for example, or something like that, and you create a hotkey that says message box true, if you create a second hotkey now both of them only work if Chrome is active. That's the problem with it. If you want one to work only in Chrome and the other one to work in a different window or all the time, you have to blank that, put it there, and remove. So that is kind of like a region of all the hotkeys within that only work on that particular.
Except for at the end of line 3, you could put Notepad.
Right.
Then,
so
but
now
you don't have to blank it. Is my point, right? It just
no,
says
exactly. You can actually
this.
now after that this one works in Chrome, this one works in Notepad, and then if I put the last one here like this, and now any other hotkey that is created, for some reason I cannot paste. Now any hotkey that is creative is for all windows. So basically, this is for Chrome, this is for Notepad, and from there on, any hotkey that you create is global, which is what it means.
And so let's talk a little bit. So a client of ours, he's a radiologist, and he has a, what are they called, Zayas? The X24 keypad?
Oh, right, an X keypad. I don't remember the name exactly, but yeah.
But it has, what, like 24 keys, right? Yeah. And he wants it where he can hit a hotkey in this. The hotkey is context sensitive in that sense of it knows what program you're in, but it only sends it to a certain program.
Another window, yeah.
And what was really cool was we actually were able to use the control send to send the keys. So we didn't even, it didn't work on every program, but some programs you can send, like, use the control send to send the keystrokes, and you don't even have to activate it, right? So it was really, really awesome.
Right. Remember, and let me kind of like share a little bit for a second now again, is just if you use the send command, that is always sent to the active window, which is something that you might not want to do. But because, for example, if I'm in Chrome and I hit my hotkey, it will send it to Chrome. What about if I don't want it to send it to Chrome? I just wanted to send it always to Notepad. Well, you have a way which is with control send. And control send has part of it which allows you to use the Win title, which is extremely useful because now I use control send, right? Sorry. And I say that the control, I don't want to send it to a specific control. I want to send it to a window. Now the keys that I want to say enter, for example, and now the title of the window that I want to send it to. In this case, I could use a class, HK class, Notepad, and that means that my hotkey F1, so let's put F1 here. Every time I press F1, it's going to try to send the enter key only to Notepad, even if it is not active, which is the greatest thing because sometimes the window is not active, and I don't want the enter to be sent to the active window at that moment. I want to send it specifically to Notepad. And I could even select a specific control inside that window. So if there is an edit one control in there, I would send the enter key to the Notepad window to that specific control if you want to. So it is a bit, I am actually getting the hang of control send. I haven't used it that often, but now that I'm getting the hang of it, I'm like, dude, that allows me to send keystrokes to a window that is not active at the moment. And, it resolves a lot of errors that we were having.
But I say it has a disadvantage, no? Isn't it slower a lot of time than send input?
For most practical applications, no, hold on. Remember that control send and send, they all use send input as the normal one, unless you change it. But in any case, if there is a difference in speed, it wouldn't be noticeable for most practical applications. For if you have a program that you just want to send a few things on a day-to-day basis, you might not feel the difference. There are some certain situations in which you might. So I would say that's the only difference between them, you know.
I had one program, the help file of AutoHotkey. I wanted to make something that would type in, search quickly the selected text of VS Code.
Mhm.
And I tried it out. And when I used Control Send, I got errors like they were still capitalized and things like that. And if I used send input, I didn't got that.
I do think you can control not only the key, because remember, let me share my screen again. This is control send, right? So the control send has the sequence of key to be sent, and the rate can be set with set key delay. Again, not only you can actually not only obeys whether you're using send input and stuff like that, but you can also set the key delay. So if you want it as fast as you can, then just use that before sending the control send. So there are many ways that you can work.
This is similar to what I was doing last week, and I found that the control set text worked flawlessly compared to the control send when you were sending keys. Like we kept getting the pipe when we were wanting a backslash, etc.
Right. I remember.
I used the control set text and it worked. That was the trick, man. Y'all pointed me in the right direction.
Now
so you might try that.
Remember that control set text only works with edit controls. So you cannot use it in every single one of your situations. But if you have access to that, it's great. The two control get text and control set text, those are two godsend commands, you know, like they're great if you are using the normal edit boxes that Windows use, or, you know, edit boxes in general.
I think it's in the intermediate course. I cover all like the control, like every freaking one of them, because there's a lot of commands dealing with controls. But yeah, it's they're, again, when they're older programs, it's amazingly powerful. Especially because usually you don't have to interfere with the user, right? They don't have to, you don't have to block them.
Yep.
Oh, actually, Isaias, so bring up, because Scotty's here, let's bring up that whole thing we were talking about just the other day, right? Of, hey, when you make a loop, don't make a loop that doesn't have some way to break out, automatically check how often it's been run.
Right. So this is something that it is something that I normally do this. I actually got a little bit annoyed. The first time that I encountered this was when I was working with the Chrome library, chrome.ahk, because the way how he created the thing was doing a loop expecting an answer, but some situations, the freaking thing never got an answer. And then you were stuck in this loop. And from there on, I kind of like got this idea. Hey, dude, you can loop infinitely, you know, sleep 10, whatever you want. And if inside your loop, you can say, if, you know, received or whatever, if the variable is set, you know, break, whatever you want. But for the love of God, just right there, say, or a index more than 10,000, for example. So that allows you to just right there put a secondary condition that if the first one is never met, at least you have a way to break out. Usually what I do is that I make it kind of like something like this, like else if, so else if, and then I set a version that says timeout equals true and then break. You know what I mean? So I would just go ahead and not only break, but also let me know that actually I broke, not because the variable was set, but because there was a timeout. Okay. But always, if you have one condition to break out of your loop, make sure that you have a secondary condition that is always met.
And,
so that
and
you
this
don't
is
enter
where,
into,
because it starts to get longer and longer, and to Zayas' point, and I know from the example Scotty gave us in the Hero Club, it's something he's using multiple times. This is where I'd say, hey, you know what? Create a function, right? That you can, that way you use the same testing, but you're just changing the parameters of what you're going to, actually do. Because otherwise you end up with a lot of redundant code. And then you realize, oh, crap, I want to change this one thing. And you have to go change it everywhere. And
now, what I do personally, because I don't like this type of code inside the code that I'm executing because it looks ugly, is that I do a very nice trick. I put my timeout outside. It is always true. And then I use the until. So you have the until command or case statement until var is set or until a index is more than whatever. So this allows me to have my timeout in here. And in here, when I actually meet a condition, whatever it is, I just set the timeout to false. So if inside my code, my condition is true, so I say if I found whatever I wanted, then I do two things. I actually set my var is set to true, whatever it is, and timeout to false, because I actually set my variable, and I could do this in a one-liner. And this way, I have a very unobstructed, it's not obstructing my code. I just have my one condition up here and my other, two things out there, So if a index reaches 10,000, this thing never happened, so timeout was not set to false. And then in here, I could say if timeout, then your thing timed out, whatever. So I don't know if that concept is really well understood. But this allows me to have my code down here however I want, and it is not being obstructed by all my conditions that I'm creating for getting out. It looks a little bit, cleaner.
This is kind of similar to something I'm trying to do, and I'm not sure how to do it. So I am using random to set a number between a minimum and a maximum. But the documentation says that because of the way the random function works, sometimes the number will be outside the maximum. And I want to set an if number is greater than what my maximum is set, reset the variable. Like run the random again, but I don't know how to do that.
Okay, hold on.
I've never heard that.
I've never heard that either. So
yeah, it says it in here somewhere.
If either
right, let's look at the known limitations.
Known limitations. That's where.
So occasionally a result can be slightly greater than the specified max. This is in part by the imprecision in here and in floating point numbers.
Can you just use the what's it called, Zeus? The
round.
Yeah, round or I wasn't thinking round. Anyway, that still would work fine. I was thinking the what's the one that
seal and floor?
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I could do that. Yes, definitely. So there are certain functions. This particular number just goes ahead and rounds up onto the next, number. So depending on what you're trying to do, ceiling and flooring might be an answer, or which I think is the one that I would use, is round, because this one tells I have precision of how I want to round the number.
Or just take the results and use stir split on the decimal and just lose the stuff after.
Because
I'm not pulling a decimal anyway.
That's what I was thinking.
Pulling whole numbers.
So let's say no, but in that case, you will never get a number higher than your.
Yeah, they mean slightly. They don't mean like 5.
No,
or 20,
they're talking about the precision. If you're having floating point numbers.
Yeah.
So if you say round 1 till 5, you will never have this issue. The problem is if you have 1 point this and 5 point, this other guy, then this one, instead of reaching that number, it might be a little bit higher, like one of the decimals might be a little bit higher. That's all they're referring to. So if you're using whole numbers, I don't think you're ever going to encounter that particular issue.
Okay.
And again, if you see the text regarding that, it says that it can be slightly graded because of the imprecision in floating point numbers. You're not using floating point numbers. You're using whole integers, so you don't have that.
So it's not something I need to worry about. All right.
No, you don't have to worry about that.
All right, awesome. And yeah, by the way, after y'all helped me last week, the code I was working on is like taking out all the weights and replacing it with the actual like watching the program. It cut down so much time. It's insane how fast it's doing stuff.
The first time I was doing web scraping, and I'm like, well, I just put in sleeps to wait for the elements because it would. The page would load, but then things loaded later, and I'm like, I just put in some sleeps, and then I said, let me, I got it working, but I'm like, let me get this where it's, the second that element is there, it's going to act on it, and it just blew me away at the time, because when I remember years ago, I was talking to Jackie Stuck about this, and he's like, computers, or humans, I think for race car drivers, like the people with the fastest reaction time in the world, and it was, I forget the exact number, but it was like, it was like 5/100ths of a millisecond, or I mean, like it's still a bit. What was it? Yeah, let's say it's 5/100ths of a millisecond. He's like, computers can do so much in that time frame. That's just for the human to see it and have it like actually understand they saw something, right? Like, and yet computers can do a billion things in that time, right?
Yeah,
like
the windows just blink on and off. Like you can't even tell what's happening. I had to put in a stupid there was something that wouldn't pull up a window, and I wanted to make sure that this command had finished before the next one did. No. So I added in an extra like when menu open the page setup, and if it's open, close it and then go on. Just so that I would know that first thing had finished because it didn't pop up a dialogue.
You know what you could do is like, there's a couple of different ones. I use the newer, Maestria's notification one, but it'll just put a little notification on your screen, and that way, when something happens, you can have it notify you very quickly of like, oh, hey, this occurred, and that's what I use for those things, just because it's super dirt simple to use.
Yeah, and that was fine for testing, but I wanted the program to be able to know that it had done it and then move on, but to wait for it. But it was one thing that most of the things pop up some sort of dialogue box, but that thing didn't. So I just did the next thing so that, okay, well, when that finishes, it'll pop this up and wait for that. So, but it worked just fine.
Just for anybody who has, who haven't done this before, let me share my screen real quick and show a little bit of an example of something that it is what we do most of the times. If you're appending a file and after that file is appended, you're going to act on it, a very quick way to check on it is just have a while loop that checks if the file exists. If the file doesn't exist, just wait for it, especially when you're appending big files, right? That is something that you might want to do before going ahead and reading the file or doing anything else. And this type of checks, instead of having like a sleep 5,000 here, it helps you a ton because sometimes it takes less than 5 seconds. What are you going to do then? Still wait for the 5 seconds? That's not what you want to do. You want to have a specific tangible thing. In your case, Scott, sadly, you didn't have a tangible way, but there's many ways of doing this.
Well, Isaias, remember the tool we're doing for the oral surgeon guy? We have this crazy, it's an older program, but it's a custom-made Windows program. And we can't, with AutoHotkey, even though it looked at first like they were the standard Windows controls, that they're not. And Isaias is like, Joe, help me with, how are we going to get to understand when to move forward? And I finally, and it was like, can you get a count of all the windows? Like, can we just get a count? And then when we see that count changes, because we could tell like how many there were. We couldn't activate any one of them, but we could get a count. And so we were like, well, that'll work. When that gets implemented, move forward. And it was a stupid approach, but it works.
But it works. Exactly.
Guys, thank you for that. What you just suggested, something that blew me away. And I'm thinking something's not writing to the file. And I'm thinking maybe it's not writing to the file because it's already writing something else to the file.
Right.
Because
Well,
it's happening so quick, you know?
Yeah, that was what in Telegram, in the group the other day, I said to Scotty, like, look at your last, when you, especially he was saying it crashes. Or was it you, Scott? Yeah, I think you said
Yeah,
right?
it was
Your
me.
script
It was me.
crashing. And I'm like, is it really quote unquote crashing, or is it just not responding? Like, it's hard to know. And that's, why don't you demonstrate real quickly just the whole, how did look at your last lines executed? Because it's such an important thing to be able to understand how to easily see what was done most recently of a script.
So right now, if you go to any script and that it has the normal menu, so if you haven't messed with the menu, if you didn't delete the menus, you can double click on it. Sorry, well, this would be let me check if this one does it. Yep. I have changed all of those. But in general, when you double click on a normal script, it executes the open command, which is this one. And right here, automatically, as soon as you open it, it just displays the last windows. And when the last lines executed, and the time that the last time that they got executed. So let's go ahead and do this. So let's say F1 here, F1 message box true. Let me make sure that this is actually running version 1, return. Let's close this. Run this script. So I have a normal script that I haven't messed with. I can double click on it and it brings me this. So it tells me that the return was executed about 3 seconds ago. And if you hit F5, it refreshes and it tells me it was 12 seconds ago. Now I'm going to press my F1 hotkey. I'm going to get my message box. And now when I do the F5, now it tells me that the message box line was executed about 175 seconds ago. So, and now if I keep pressing F5, I could see when was the last time that line was executed. So this is a very cool thing to, actually, this is the way how I spot infinite loops, because every time you have a loop that is actually running and is not doing anything else, you will notice. So let's do this. If I have a loop 10 million, just to have the I equals a index. So if I do this and I run it and I double click on it, it tells me, let me see, it's a message. So F1, I do F1. Notice that it tells me what the last lines were running. And as soon as I see something that is repeating like this, I say like, oh, I'm in a loop, something is going on. And then I check what loop that is. And especially it tells you which line is being executed. So the line number, you can just jump to that line on your file. And then you say, oh, it's a loop that is executed over and over again, and it is not finished. If you do not see a time frame in there, it's because it hasn't finished. So this is what is going on. And I'm very easily figuring out if there was a loop running that I didn't notice that it was there. So that's my way of capturing infinite loops. If my program is not responding, the first thing I do is just double click on it and check the last executed lines, which I think there is a command for that. You can actually call it at any time you want. So this command, if you use it at any moment, you can use it as a hotkey if you want. That's something that I would suggest. Just have a hotkey that does this. And if you press F1, it would bring this window for you. So it is a command that you can use as a developer to verify what was the last thing that your script did and why, you know?
Yeah, it's so often, we hear it a lot. It's like, HK is buggy. I'm like, HK isn't buggy. It's usually our code, and that includes me, right? Like, it's our code that is the problem, not AutoHotkey, the actual syntax.
Yep, that is right.
Isaias, have we still time to quickly show something?
I don't know if anybody else has any other questions before, because that one is, is a complex topic. Let's see if there's anybody who, usually we talk the complex topics we talked about then in the Heroes program, but let's see if anybody else has a simple question just to make sure. Right, exactly.
I've got some questions, but we'll leave it to the
next one,
the Heroes topic.
Yep.
Okay, then I can share my screen. I already prepared everything, so it should be easy.
Awesome.
Here I have a function, and actually what to just do is to look it up. But I've set here the set key delay to -1, 0, and input, and I still get strange. It works quite good, but sometimes you see here that the capital
I've noticed that. Yes. Yeah, we had the same issue. Scotty was having the same issue when I was trying to send the text using Control Send. You see the Alt keys and probably what you want to do is Control Send raw. Try Control Send raw because it is translating the old keys and those, unless that's what you want to send, actually.
Yeah.
I think we found that the only way to do it consistently with the Control Send was to copy paste.
Right, that was the way that I did it.
Or control. If you can set, I don't know if you can use the Control set text in this situation.
Right.
Control Send, apparently I don't think it exists. Control Send raw.
Let me double check on that. On version 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me double check.
Or maybe
you have that is Control Send text is what you want to use in this case, not raw.
Okay.
Control Send text, which is kind of like raw.
He loads.
I would have thought it'd be microwaved.
He's still doing the.
Is actually now sending that line is correct, but the other ones, yeah, I'm still selecting everything, and there I see that sometimes he does. Maybe I just need to, if I change it to 20,
That's
I think,
too much. That's really too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's too much.
5.
And when you put them in both sides, the second parameter is how long you want the key to be pressed. So I would definitely leave that to 0 most of the time, unless you want to keep something pressed or something like that.
Yeah, he's still not getting it. Okay, now he's doing it.
I think it's the sleeps.
Remove the sleeps?
No, not really. You don't need the sleeps any longer, but the Control A there, what happens is there any ways for you to set the text of the control set text? Because if you are able to target that, which is what Scotty was mentioning, instead of actually having to select and send, you just have to set the text of it, and that would be instantaneous, and it's just one.
And it worked flawlessly.
Right. In this case, I think it should work if you can target the control.
Here with the ACC, I maybe can target it.
Value. You see this value, or again, just use the control set text. Let me see. Hold on. Control set text. Yeah. So just look for the control set text command.
Yeah.
You can actually all of that. No, not send text. Set text. So look at this. Let me do this.
Yeah, but it's not a normal control.
But you're able to use the AHK, so you're using this to identify it, so it should work.
No, it's the ACC. But ACC, you can see it. But the accessible.
Hold on, isn't that the class and N of the control?
No.
What is that then?
The ACC library. Accessible.
Yeah, but
I understand. Hold on. Can you minimize that, please? Can you minimize? You see here that you're using the Internet Explorer server class NN.
Right.
Yeah.
The command that I'm telling you to use is exactly the same as those two. You will see. Just go ahead and type control set text. Control set text. Right?
Yeah.
That. Now, the new text is going to be the search string. The control is going to be, yeah, exactly, those two things. Now you can delete everything else. You can comment out everything. Just comment everything out. Try that. Because this will set the text to it, and it should replace whatever is there, if I remember correctly. That's the part that I'm not really sure.
So what's the difference between control send and control set text again?
Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen?
You're assuming that that control is a standard control, but it's embedded into the Internet Explorer.
Oh, I understand. So the Internet Explorer is the window itself, not the control.
Yes.
I understand what you mean now. Okay, I get it. Okay. Right. So if there was a way for me to target that control, then I could use it. But yeah,
well,
I get your point.
Do we not see the class INN at all?
No, in this case, this is an Internet Explorer control. I would definitely go trying to get the DOM out of it and just set the text using the DOM, right? That's another way of me using it. But what is going on is that it's not a normal control. It's not a specific control. He was just, this here is just sending the text to the parent window, and the parent window is sending it to the control that is focused. That's what it's doing. So yeah, that control set text wouldn't work like that. Actually, it should. It should. If the text control is actually active, if it is focused and active, it should do that.
Okay. Maybe if I
try that.
Alt S, and I just keep the sleep just
in case. That's okay.
Just for testing, and later on I can remove it if it doesn't work.
All right. Well, we're at the end of the hour, and we have our other call we got to jump on to. So all the heroes, you have your links to jump over.
There you go.
I threw it in Telegram as well. But thank you all, and remember next week we'll still have this call. It's just an hour earlier.
That's right.
But thank you all for being here, and looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.